I think this might be the best pumpkin bread recipe I have ever tasted. Stay tuned for sugar and spice pumpkin bread.
Let's see what's cooking. Let's get the facts. Let's see what's cooking. It's time for yoyomax12.
Hello everyone, and you too, Dennis. First thing we're going to do is mix together the ingredients that's going to form the topping, as well as the delicious little ribbon that's going to run through the center of this bread. That is 2/3 of a cup of sugar, a cup of finely chopped pecans, and 1.5 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. Mix that together and set it aside. Then in a very large bowl, place 3 1/3 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and another teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. Stir that all together, and when you're done, form a well or a little hollow in the center by pushing it up the sides and set that aside. Then in a third bowl, place 3 cups of white granulated sugar and 1 15-ounce can of pure pumpkin, not pumpkin pie filling. And if you'll notice, the cans we have here are not 15 ounces, they're actually 14 ounces, but that's okay. 1 ounce difference doesn't make much at all. Then add in 1 cup of vegetable oil and then 4 large eggs. Once the eggs are all in, add 1/3 of a cup of water and 1/4 cup of bourbon or whiskey. If you don't want to use that in this recipe, just add another 1/4 cup of water instead. Stir this together until it's nice and smooth, and then take this mixture and pour it into that flour well that you made in that other big bowl. Once it's poured in, stir it around. Stir it until just combined. Stir it until you can't see any more white flour and it doesn't look like there's any giant lumps in it. This recipe actually makes enough for 2 pumpkin breads. So take 2 loaf pans, grease the bottoms and grease about 1 inch up the sides of the pans. Then you're going to pour in 2 cups of the batter into the bottom of each loaf pan. Then take half of that cinnamon pecan mixture and sprinkle it in between the 2 loaf pans. Then once that's done, pour on the rest of the batter that's in the bowl, gently covering up that sugar and pecans, and then take the rest, the other half of the sugar and pecan mixture, and sprinkle it over the top. Then you're going to take these, you're going to put them in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for 65 to 70 minutes until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. Allow them to cool for about 10 minutes in the pans. Take them out of the pan, put them on a wire rack, and let them cool completely. This pumpkin bread is really good with this bourbon glaze, which is optional. That's a cup of powdered sugar, a tablespoon of bourbon or whiskey. Stir it together and add an additional 2-3 teaspoons of milk until you get to a glaze or a drizzling consistency. If you don't want to use the bourbon in this, you can use whatever other kind of flavoring that you want, like a rum extract or whatever you want really. Or if you don't want to use a flavoring, then just use an additional tablespoon of water. Now, this particular loaf actually sat in the refrigerator wrapped up in plastic wrap overnight. The recipe recommends that you wrap your cakes after they're cool, put them in the fridge overnight, and then drizzle on the glaze and then slice it up. Now, the reason they're telling you to put this in the fridge overnight is that it makes it so that it slices up a lot easier. If you try to slice it up when it's still warm out of the oven, it'll probably crumble a lot. So you know what? It'll still be delicious, but just a little bit more crumbly. So if you can stand it, I recommend that you put this in the refrigerator overnight. It really makes it extra special and so easy to slice. And here it is sliced up. You can see that gorgeous pumpkin pie, sugar, pecan ribbon that goes through the center of it. This is really good pumpkin bread. I think that anyone who tries this is going to absolutely love it. It is nice and dense, nice and moist, and with that ribbon running through it, you get that pumpkin pie spice all the way through. I served this to a couple of different people, and I asked them if they could tell me what the secret ingredient was in the pumpkin bread and in that glaze. And I was thinking about the bourbon that was in there. And none of them could really pick it out and actually nail it down as that there was alcohol in this particular dessert. So you know what? I knew it was there. To me, I could detect it as I was tasting it. But if you don't know what's there, you're just tasting delicious. Seriously, this is an awesome recipe. I hope you give it a try with or without the bourbon. This is going to be the last of the pumpkin themed goodies I'm going to be making for this year, but I've made some last year. So if you're looking for other pumpkin based recipes, you can check out my pumpkin goodies playlist by clicking on your screen, clicking on the little eye that's up there, or looking for the link in the description box. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.